Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 109 of the cast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Ahsoka episode 3, and we're going to be breaking down the Netflix series One Piece. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, Alex, aka Zaberwolf, and we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Andre. Without further ado, guys, here we go. Yo, what's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. How is everybody? Andre, welcome to the cast. It's a first time guest slot for you. Hope you're. I'm happy to have you here. Let's see how it goes. How's things?
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for having me. First time, first
Yes.
guy. Hopefully, I'm gonna be a bit more entertaining than in the chat. So if you don't know me,
Yeah, I just gotta say, massive thank you anyway to you because you've been a big part of this community for the last little while, both here on this YouTube channel and over on my Twitch and in our Discord and everything like that. So, I know you're a big anime fan. We've been kind of delving into the anime over the last couple of episodes, as people have probably noticed. So it's good to have you here. I know you're a big One Piece fan, so
Oh yeah.
I'm excited to talk about One Piece tonight. I've seen the first 3 episodes, and we'll do Ahsoka first, but then we'll move into One Piece, I think, and kind of see where the conversation goes. Obviously, welcome to anybody who's here in the chat. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple or anything like that as well, thank you all for listening. If you want to be part of the conversation live, we do it every Sunday over on YouTube. So let's go into Ahsoka episode 3. Talk to me, guys. How did we feel about the episode? And Andre, obviously, because we haven't spoke to you before in person, I want to hear. Maybe Alex, you can go first, then I'll go to Andre, and then maybe you can kind of give us a recap of the whole series so far. So for the first 3 episodes, let's see how you're feeling, and then we'll kind of go from there. So,
Okay.
Alex, kick it off, brother. What do you think?
So concerning like the idea behind Ahsoka, like I get what they're trying to do, but it's kind of like this moment of I don't really want to pick up what they're trying to put down. It's reaching a point where I'm kind of seeing too much of the original like movie series into this kind of show, which is it's fine. It's fine. It's not like a big deal, but at the same time, it's kind of like it's eating at that kind of fat that was still there, as if like there's nothing else. There's no original kind of feelings to it. Because if you think about it, we see like the big like fight scene between like the space fight between Ahsoka and Shen. Is it Shen?
Mm-hmm. Shin, yeah.
And
yeah.
So like it's like I've seen that before, and not to say that you can't have that kind of stuff, but like it almost felt like it was from episode 4 or 5 of Star Wars, and like it was okay, it was fine, but I think like with the hour long, I was hoping that it would be an hour long, considering that the first 2 episodes are about 40 minutes long. Like it like I really liked that length, because then they have time to like explain things, time to talk about things, and like really like put more emphasis on what they want to do. But at the same time, I've noticed this. I went to rewatch the first couple of episodes as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like non-enthusiastic. It's very
Right.
like non-emotional. I don't know if you feel the same way, Finto, but like they're constantly just kind of looking at each other and talking very calmly, never really having this feeling of like, urgency or somewhat enthusiasm. Like they should be happy to see each other a bit more often. They should be smiling a bit more often. Like it just feels weird. And then like going back to that scene when we first see Sabine Wren, like it was kind of a pompous move to have her like taking the speeder and just going out and not dealing with the ceremony, because wouldn't she be more enthusiastic about that kind of stuff? Like wouldn't she be happy to like have that memorial service and like honor her friends, even though like she's like I know Ezra's out there. I know Ezra's out there. It's like yeah, but like you still need to kind of put yourself out there as like the face of like one of the rebels.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel organic. So like as we're trailing forward, I'm starting to slowly not care about Sabine Wren.
Yeah. I think the whole pacing of the show, I think, is a problem for people who are big Star Wars fans, because they feel like a lot of the stuff is maybe being retold. Like we saw Sabine in Rebels kind of going through the initial kind of Jedi training with Kanan, and like we kind of got a replay of what's happening now with Ahsoka is like the same thing again, where it's like, she doesn't have the force, or she's very like has so little force that she can't predict moves coming at her and all this sort of stuff. And it's like it kind of feels like a rehash. I personally like the rehashes back to the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. Like I think that's what makes it feel like Star Wars to me. You know what I mean? Like when you see the space battles going on, like I'm in my element. I'm like, this is the Star Wars that I love. I want to see more of this stuff. I can understand where you're coming from, where you kind of feel like it's just kind of like crowd service or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it kind of just feels like they're just trying to win people back by just giving them much of the same. But to be honest, that's kind of what I love about it. So I don't know. I see positives in where you probably see negatives for that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. Andre, what do you think? Talk to me.
Look, I'm a big Rebels fan, very big. I love Rebels. I love what they did in Rebels. So for me, there are some bits and bits that maybe they're like, I would expect that they're going to be continued in the Ahsoka, because now that we know Sabine and Ezra and the whole gang and so on. So for me, Sabine and Ezra were a bit more than just friends. I always had that thing that maybe there needs to be more than friends. So the spot where she said, where Ezra sent that message, like, it's a bit
see you
like
as a brother or whatever.
Yeah, that's that I think that's the worst phrase from each guy or
friend zone.
Adolescent man. Yeah, I was thinking something like blocked, but I'm not gonna say the whole word. But
yeah, exactly.
So that was a bit cringy, but otherwise, to be honest, they nailed the actors. I love it. Yeah, Sabine was a bit. She has her character in Rebels, and it's always is portrayed very nicely, even in the live action. So I'm quite pleased. Even what David is telling in the stories from Ahsoka, I quite really enjoy it. So I don't want to say that I'm maybe a Star Wars fan like other guys that spend their lives only with Star Wars. I'm quite new to the whole nerdy world. But for me, it's more important if I'm gonna, like for example, I fell in love with the Rebels in the Clone Wars and the Ahsoka from that show. So obviously, then I have that photo or that character in mind when I'm gonna watch Ahsoka, and seeing that Dawson is practically taking this character correctly, in my opinion, forward. Obviously, she needs to take the director's choice and director's ideas and bring them to life. But still, it's quite enjoying. So I'm not that sad, or I don't have that many issues, maybe like others have with Ahsoka. But I can't say I kind of like it, and I hope that they're gonna be a bit more up in bringing those new stuff that they want to bring regarding all the magic that's behind the Force, and what could everything else come by the Force or by magic per se, because now practically the sisters, they're bringing some type of magic that was unknown to Star Wars until now, or not that much research. So practically that's quite pleasing, having new stuff than just only Skywalker's the GOAT. That's it.
Amen. Skywalker is the chosen one. The story is about Anakin. I don't care what anybody says. If you argue with that, you're not paying attention. You know what I mean? It is the story of Anakin, the rise and fall. What did you think of the first two episodes? I know you mentioned a comment about like how good Rosario's doing, I think she's doing a fantastic job. What do you like all the choreography? Like, what do you think? Like, how do you think it looks visually? Like everything. Like, give us the full breakdown.
So for me, that's quite good. To be honest, I kind of like it. Even the saber fights, there maybe could be a bit more, but obviously there's never enough saber fights. To be honest.
Well, it also costs on the budget as well. Like it's a TV show, it's not a movie, so like clearly you don't have the budget to just do full choreography.
Well, I think it's quite impressive how much lightsaber action there was in the first two episodes. Even I didn't think that we were going to get that much. So I think it's like the fact that we didn't see any lightsaber in the third episode, I wasn't even upset about, because we saw so much in the first two, and I think that's kind of where we are right now in Star Wars. That like we're kind of so I don't know. It's like it feels like it's been like drop fed to us so much, so that when we get a bit of an overdrive, it's kind of like, oh my god, we're bathing in it. So now, like episode 3 for me, I didn't need the lightsabers. I was happy with the training scene. I was happy with the space battle and stuff like that, and the whole chase scene down through the planet where it looked like Japanese gardens and stuff. I thought it looked absolutely phenomenal, and I don't know if this is just because I have an amazing TV. But it blew me away. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so stunning. All the like the pink and red leaves and everything, like it just really popped on my TV. I was just like, wow, this is absolutely incredible. Loved it.
Well, I'm hoping that when we get further into the series that it actually improves on the choreography, only for the fact that they put a little bit more budget into those scenes. Not to say that I'm not trying to undermine them. I'm just saying, like, I want it to kind of build up so that when we get to the point where we're eventually going to see a lightsaber duel between, Sabine and Shin again, and is it Balin?
Balin, yeah.
Balin and Ahsoka. I'm assuming that's going to be the two that are going to be dueling each other. But I also kind of wish, or like I'm hoping that it turns into like a in the sense like a 2v2, so like they're kind of right next to each other.
That'd be sick, yeah. Like both of them, all four of them fighting in the one fight.
Yes, yeah. and you could do them
forget,
like.
Oh yeah,
we've got Marek as well, the Inquisitor. So he's going to fight. I think it was actually shown in one of the trailers already. He does fight Sabine at some point. So
okay,
and I think his whole. I wanted to ask as well, Andre. You've probably heard, because I know you're big on the Den of Nerds streams and stuff, but you've probably heard a couple of the leaks and rumors as to who is under the mask. I know he has, by the way. He's laughing. So it's just to tell you, Alex, because you're probably not in the know. It's if what we heard this week is true, I'm scared. Okay, that's all I'll say. I'm fucking scared because it's terrible, bro.
Oof.
It's some of the worst news I've ever heard.
Is it Dooku?
But no,
somehow Dooku is returned.
Imagine, somehow Dooku has returned. No.
If you're gonna try,
you will never guess.
sorry. If you're gonna try, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're never gonna get it.
You could never guess who it is.
No,
it's crazy. And I pray that it's wrong. I pray that it's just like some fake news that was put out there to kind of maybe throw people off. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any did you, before you heard this news, who did you think was under the mask, Andre? I know it's kind of your opinion is probably skewed a bit now because this has probably thrown you way off. But did you have any watching episodes 1 and 2? Did you have any ideas, or who did you want to see under the mask? Who would you have liked to see?
Absolutely not. So for me, this is not like I told you, I'm not that big in theorizing or thinking who could that be from the whole entire universe of Star Wars, or like even Jay said on his video, because he played the DLC and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So I even have no idea who Starkiller is. Who's that? I have no idea, to be honest. So for me, I'm going to take the L. What can I say?
If you want.
Look at my background. Look at my background. That's my shit.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying the ride. I'm loving the Star Wars. I'm loving the nerdy stuff. So it's for me the only important thing for me to say for Ahsoka is that's not gonna have the same issues like Kenobi or like Boba. I want that if they're gonna do a full, so to say, rebel continuity, then I would still expect to see Ezra in a type of position that's maybe he's a bit more powerful than he was before, or he has a bit more knowledge that can bring to the table. We even saw Jace, so practically the kid of Hera and Kanan. So having him there gives me some hope that maybe the Jedi are really gonna start and move a bit outside the whole restriction that they imposed until now. So maybe he's gonna be like another type of Jedi, exactly like Sabine. She's like forceless, so to say, but still she maybe has the willpower to develop some force power or some force abilities. Obviously, even the robot said that she's like the lowest low from the lowest low, but still is going to be a bit of maybe character development in a way that maybe is going to be pleasing. And to be honest, I have big hopes on Jason Dula, or how it's named, the kid's name. Like
I'm
Hera's
not sure.
Hera's and Kanan's kid.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know what it is. I
Jace
don't know what it is.
well, but
I
so and
think
so.
Can't
so.
So
remember.
the kid being yeah, so the kid being uh, in the show, it's quite nice. So that gives
Yeah.
me a bit of hope that Filoni's gonna develop these small galaxy or this small universe that he's creating now with the whole how you want to call it, like going forward with his stories. That maybe he really has some points or some goal in mind where he wants to get to. So I'm okay with the ride. I like the bumpy road, so just go with it.
Yeah, I find it that like with the whole world beyond worlds thing and the whole new galaxy or whatever, I kind of get the feeling that a lot of these characters are going to end up going to the other world and maybe just disappearing from the main timeline. Like it doesn't really make, and I know before I say what I say, it's I know like in the real world, like none of these characters really existed at the time, but like it doesn't make sense. It's, like you always kind of ask yourself the question, I was like, well, where was he for the like the sequel trilogy? Where was she? Where was Ahsoka during the OT and all this sort of stuff? You know, it's like, oh, during the OT, Ahsoka never existed, so of course she couldn't be in it. You know what I mean? Like if we're
Exactly.
talking realistically, but I think Dave's kind of come up with a quite an interesting and clever plan to potentially put a lot of these characters into a different universe, a different timeline, different whatever you want to call it, and then they all kind of have their own story, which Dave kind of goes off on his own little tangent into a new universe. And then, you know, they're not around. Like, obviously, if Kanan had a son, you would presume that this kid would be quite powerful. Kanan was a pretty powerful Jedi. And that kid would, you know, go train with Luke, be part of the New Order, whatever, and he'd be in the sequels. Now, again, Kylo Ren comes in the sequels, as we know, and he just wipes out the entire temple. But I kind of get the feeling that someone like Kanan's son would be able to survive something like that. I'm sure he's heard stories of Order 66 and all this sort of stuff, and they'd have to have that in the back of their heads. You know, where's Ahsoka throughout episode 7, 8, and 9? I think she's one of the voices at the very end of episode 9, so I presume she's dead by the time it comes around to the last episode. So, you know, a lot of people were saying, oh, maybe like, you know, all of them just disappear off into the new galaxy. But I even still think by the time it comes around to episode 9, she's still dead because she's one of the voices that could be heard talking to Rey at the end. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Like, and again, Ezra, where's Ezra? Where's Cal, Kestis? Like, you know, where are all these people? So hopefully Dave, because I think Dave does have the power and the knowledge to actually tell these stories right. I think he gets it. Like, you know, he's truly invested in Star Wars. Like, I think he is the next best thing to George Lucas. So I find that if someone's going to tell these stories, I think that someone like Dave will be able to tell them correctly. And I think a lot of people are speculating on Starkiller. You brought up Starkiller earlier. I think Starkiller is a real possibility because, again, Dave knows Starkiller is an important character to the fandom. He knows the backstory of it, and I know it's kind of Elseworld shit or whatever you want to call it, or extended universe or whatever Star Wars call it. But you know, like the guy who plays Starkiller's name is Sam Witwer, the actor. He was in Smallville and a few other things. But basically, he came out and had said that him and Dave had talked about him potentially becoming an Inquisitor. But then the whole kind of thing is, it's like in the story of the games, he's such a powerful character. He's basically what Luke would be if Luke turned to the dark side young and got trained by Vader his whole life. Like that's kind of the potential that he would have. So he's just so ridiculously overpowered. So it's like, you know, the Star Wars canon can't bring someone like that into the story because he's just so overpowered. It would just be ridiculous. Like he'd be just tearing everybody apart, like with a thought. So it's kind of like, do you repurpose the character and kind of tone him down and maybe change him and kind of retcon him a bit? It could work, but then you're going to piss people off at the same time, you know. Like, and Sam Witwer himself did a lot of voice for Rebels and Clone Wars. He was Darth Maul's voice, so you know he's credited in episode 2 as having, like, you know, doing some voice work or something like that. So people are thinking, oh, it's going to be Mark because it's like the guy in the mask and we heard him talk and blah blah blah. But then it's kind of like, oh, well, technically, you know, he's a friend of Star Wars. He's been around for a long time. Maybe he's just doing voices for something else. Like it could be aliens or droids or anything. Like, you know what I mean? He's a voice actor. He could be doing anything. So people could just be reading too much into it. Or maybe not. Maybe they're getting it right. Maybe it is Starkiller. I don't know. I personally wouldn't be too upset if it was Starkiller because I think it would be great. I like Sam. I think he's a great, like, I think he's a great dude. I'd like to see him in live action Star Wars because he's been doing anime and he's been doing video games for so long, but he is a part of Star Wars. And if you ever listen to any of his podcast, like he was on Star Wars Theory. Like he's a nerd. He's a Star Wars nerd. He gets it. He knows the whole lore back to front. So I think it would be cool to kind of see him in live action, kind of like what they did in the was it the Kenobi series where they brought in the dude who was who played Jar Jar Binks, and they made him a Jedi.
Yeah,
You know what I
which
mean?
is really nice.
It was
Yeah.
cool, and I think like if Sam Witwer, if Starkiller got that kind of treatment, I think people would love it. You know?
But it's like what you said just a moment ago. Like Starkiller being downgraded feels like a punch in the nuts, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like I really hope that's not the case. My assumption is that it's Darth Maul again for some reason.
Maul, yeah.
It's
Which would make sense to Sam Witwer getting credited as well because he did the voice. But yeah, I don't know. So he does die in Rebels. But again, I suppose Obi-Wan did fail to kill him the first time, so maybe he failed to kill him a second time as well. So I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest. So
yeah. But other than that, I'm not sure. Like, what was the rumor?
I don't know if I want to say it, but so a lot of people are thinking it's
Don't
either
do
Ezra or it's Starkiller. Do you want to know?
Don't do it.
Yeah, I say why not.
So basically, yeah. So basically, the rumor is that it's actually smoke that's inside the suit. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's like an essence of a person or like force, like ghost or some shit like that. But it's
Manipulated magic.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, manipulated magic, something like that. Like it's like, I don't know. It's up in the air, but basically it's it's apparently it's smoke.
So a
inside the
sentient
suit.
force fart.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
I don't know if we're gonna
Sounds
see it
horrible.
next.
Okay, so put it like this. Maybe it's like a puppet.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if we're gonna
they,
see the mask will open and it'll just be
yes.
like smoke will just come out of it next week. I
Yeah.
don't know what to make of this, guys.
No,
Like,
so
like
but,
really, like this-
have you seen Tales of the Jedi?
yeah.
No.
What?
I did, yes.
Okay, so they
I
would.
did, Alex.
Yeah, I also saw it. Yeah, so practically in the last episode of Tales, it's mostly about Dooku and Ahsoka. And Ahsoka in the last, she's gonna kill an Inquisitor, and when the Inquisitor's gonna die, practically the same thing. There's nothing. So there's just like a puppet. How you gonna call it? Harry Potter style. Something's just moving, and that's it.
Yeah.
Once
So
it's
she
practically dead, then it's dead. So there's
Yeah,
nothing.
she has this fight, and then I think at the very end, like he kind of just evaporates into smoke or something. And I kind of perceived
Exactly.
that when I watched it as, you know, an animated version of like him dying and just, you know, going into the force or some shit like that. I didn't think it was going to be a literal like turning to smoke sort of thing. So basically, when Ahsoka gets her, so I don't know if the story I think is different in like before Disney took over. I think they kind of changed Ahsoka's story, but in this version, in the canon now, in the Disney canon, she lost her two original lightsabers at the end of the Clone Wars series, and then she kind of disappears for a while. But it turns out that she fights her first Inquisitor, takes his crystals and heals them, because the Sith now in Disney canon have to bleed crystals to turn them red. So now she basically healed the bled crystals, which turns them white, and that's how she has her white lightsabers. So she starts off in Clone Wars, and she's got two blue lightsabers, and then she obviously, when she leaves the Order at the end of 66, she kind of just leaves the lightsabers there and kind of abandons the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know.
No, either, man.
Liam coming in with a comment here: smoke space whales. The travel faster than any ship or helicopters, and helicopter lightsabers. I know Liam is not a fan of Dave Filoni.
I'm not really either.
Really?
I'm really not either. And you know this,
think
Vinto.
I think Dave is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think he just gets it. But
Like,
each to their own. Each to their own. But I think if this smoke
Exactly.
thing is real, I can't, like, this is an absolute L for Filoni. I won't defend him in this one. I didn't see all the episodes of Rebels and stuff, so the whole space whale thing, I don't really get it either. Like, I know they kind of made an appearance they were in hyperspace in Mando season 3 as well. So like we knew they were coming, obviously, but again, I don't give a shit about the space whales. Whatever.
Okay, look, put it like this. Maybe if that was practically what I was saying of his goal. If he wants to expand on this magic, so to say, or this type of force manipulation that you can also create magic, like the Dark Sisters are doing, and so on. So maybe they also have the Jedi doing things like this or similar. We still don't know all the correct or all the extent of the power of the light side. Maybe they can also use, like they're talking to animals and understanding stuff and so on and making connections. Maybe they can also use their, like, an out of body experience like Luke did in that fight against Kylo, so to say. He was practically just staying and meditating, but he was full body in another position. So maybe they can also develop that type of force power, that they
Yeah.
can also make something else. Like if you have like an amount of power, maybe you can take a small bit of that and create a puppet that's going to be like your sidekick or something. So it's not, I don't know, we don't need to criticize immediately if something's going to be like out of proportion. Maybe he's cooking something, we don't know what exactly. We're very free to speculate, but I don't know. It's I see that there is something in movement. So practically he's doing something. It's so and so Ahsoka's better than the other series and that we got until now. So Mando was obviously once they dropped Luke in it, then people were like, "Poof." So obviously I also enjoyed it because it's straight legacy and some very important characters in the whole universe.
Mhm.
Right.
But I'm
It-
still open in getting that. Yeah, get it.
Right. And I think that with Mando season 3 though, like it really kind of rushed things. And that I think that's
Oh
what the
yeah.
issue is with most of these shows, that they tend to want to rush things. And if it's something that you can make into a movie, just make it into a movie. You'll get a higher budget. You'll be able to like manage things a lot better. Like things all can be done like, like the usual movie sense. Like you can make it cinematic. You could just really like drive it in. So like I know that Finto and I were previously talking about that when it came to Mando season 3. It's like, well, why couldn't they do like the battle for Mandalore like as a movie? Like they could have
So
had that as a preparation.
I think what the story behind it, and again, it's always the real world that is affecting this stuff and ruining everything. Like, to be honest, I think you're right. I think
Facts.
if they
Facts.
if they were gonna do, they probably should have done Mando. I look, Mando season 1 and 2. I think were almost perfect. I loved them. I was like, this is Star Wars. This is incredible. This is
Mhm.
like I can't fault it at all. I was I was praising John Favreau and Dave Filoni. I thought they were like incredible. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is Star Wars. You know what I mean? Especially after the sequels, where they were so like poorly received from a lot of fans. I was like, shit, this is Star Wars. You know what I mean? Amazing start. I'll never forget seeing Luke Skywalker come back in season 2. Like honestly, it was the greatest thing in the world to me. Like honestly, I just was shocked by it, absolutely shocked by it. And then season 3 wasn't good, and I think there was a lot of real world shit going on in the background that made it so. You know, arguments back and forth with Pedro wanted to take the mask off altogether and all this sort of stuff, and blah blah blah. We know all the stories, but now it's like, and as well, obviously, Disney wanting to kind of push week by week content and all this sort of stuff, and really, really pushing Disney Plus. Now we now know that they fired their CEO. They've gone back to their previous CEO, and now things are changing. The rumor out there now is that Mando season 4 will actually just be a movie directed by Dave Filoni. That's the new rumor. So season 4 is actually just going to turn into a film, which I think is probably for the better now with the current state of Star Wars, and the fact that everything that's in this Filoni verse is now moving into a movie from Filoni, which is going to be the finale, like the kind of end game of all of this. So I think let him do it. Like if he's gonna put out a good show that is Ahsoka. I believe he wrote every episode of Ahsoka. He hasn't. I thought he was directing every episode as well, but turns out he isn't. He directed the first one. I don't know how many more he's going to direct. Maybe he'll do a couple more. I think rumor has it that Anakin's going to appear in episode 5, so potentially, he's going to direct Hayden. I would presume that would be my guess, but again, I don't know. I always thought, and as well, I always thought this season was 6 episodes, but it's actually 8. So I think there's
Oh, that's not too bad. That's
yeah,
good then.
so there's a bit more in it than I originally thought. I thought it was only going to be 6 episodes, so I'm kind of happy about that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think there's been a lot of real world shit that's gotten in the way of Star Wars, and the same with Marvel as well. You know what I mean? Like I've now heard as well they've pushed back Echo. Echo's going to be pushed back into January of 24 now. It was meant to
Good.
come out in October. It was meant to be out in the next 4 or 5 weeks. We were going to get the whole season dropping at once, and now they're pushing it back to January. It's like what
They-
bullshit were we about to be like? What was about to be unleashed onto us in that show is what I want to know. If they're pushing it back nearly 4 months, that's it's weird. I just think Disney, especially, I think they're trying to clean up a lot of the mess. Like they lost a staggering amount of subscribers over the last year.
Of course.
18 months. It's been crazy. Like in the millions, bro. Like millions have left the app. So they're scared. They're rethinking everything. So I think if they do it, like, if this show goes off and it is good, and like I think the numbers are down because I don't blame people for not watching this stuff because it's just been a case where they've just been let down so many times.
Oh yeah.
The Kenobi show should have been the easiest win of all time. You know what I mean? You have
Would have
Hayden
been
Christensen.
it's so simple.
Yeah, you have Hugh McGregor coming back to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the best characters in Star Wars. You have Hayden Christensen, the chosen one himself, coming back and reprising the role of both Anakin Skywalker and Vader, and somehow the show is shit. I like, come on, bro. If I wasn't such a fan, I would have cancelled my Disney Plus there. So I completely understand why people did. And then Boba Fett comes out. Like I can't remember. I was listening to somebody talk about this recently, and they made such a good point. It's just like, when we saw Boba in Mando season 2 again, Mando season 2, I think was the peak of Disney Plus. It was like as good as it was get. Like it was the peak of it. It was incredible. Because like in season 2, you had badass Boba, you had Ahsoka introduced for the first time in live action, which was a great episode, and then you've obviously got Luke coming back in the finale. Like it was mind blowing stuff. And then you go to releasing a Boba Fett show, which seemed so rushed, and seemed like it was a kind of response to Pedro potentially walking. They were like, let's do a Boba Fett show and see what you think then, Pedro. Like, this show's going to be more popular than your show, and you're gonna bend the knee or whatever. And then it turns out that show was shit, and the Boba that they pushed out was just nothing like the Boba that we saw in Mando season 2. Like, ridiculous, bro. I'm sorry, I could talk about this shit.
Oh, dude, no, I agree with you. Like it was one of the worst takes on Boba Fett I had ever seen. I understand you want to talk, like, tell a story of Boba Fett, and that sounds like a great idea. But when you give it nothing, it's like, why? Like this character, like, yes, this character was kind of like driven as a mysterious kind of character in episode 6, but it's the fact that like it's Boba Fett and it just looks like a cool Mandalorian character. Like fucking makes sense to me, but like the direction that they went, in which case he wanted to be like a sort of crime boss in the sense, was very odd, but I understand what they were trying to do. It's just the delivery on what they were doing. Like it's not cool when you clearly take off the helmet and go like, that's Boba Fett. It's like when the Mandalorian, when you see Din Djarin have his helmet removed once or twice, yeah, that really sucked. Like that, like he didn't need, like that wasn't necessary, but it had to be done because they needed to save his life.
I think with Pedro taking the mask off, I think if he didn't do it on the mission, the way he does it on the mission to kind of scan his face or whatever, like I can kind of see why they would do that, but I think they shouldn't have shown that. I think they should have shown potentially like the camera behind his head and we didn't see his face. Like I understand he has to do it for the mission. That's fair enough, but I don't think we should have seen that. I think that should have been like a back shot facing forward, and then I think the main shot of him for taking the mask off, saying goodbye to Grogu. I think that would have been the time where it would have been most impactful, because I find that because we'd already seen his face like 3 episodes earlier, I didn't give a shit that he took the mask off at the end to say goodbye. But if we had never seen his face and he takes it off to say goodbye to Grogu, there would have been tears everywhere. Everyone would have been like, "Oh my god!" It would have been the most emotional thing ever. But they just
Exactly.
fucking ruined it because it's like he had his mask off 2 episodes ago.
Well, that's what, like, partially I feel like that's why they did season 3, because it was basically the writers going, sorry, we didn't mean to take his helmet off. Oh my god, we're sorry. Let's put it back on. Let's say that he needs to religiously leave it on forever, and then we're gonna give this to, you know,
yeah.
Bo-Katan.
I get the feeling they didn't even
Exactly.
want to really
At
do
least we
season
got
3.
Bo, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she just kept it off. She's like, I don't give a fuck. I will leave it
Yeah.
off. I'll put it on. I'll take it off. I don't give a shit. I'm Bo-Katan. Let's go. And I'm like, all right.
That's her division. Like they're all like that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's just the way they are. But
Yeah.
I just thought, I just really thought that the way that they ended season 2, it would have actually been the perfect end for The Mandalorian. Could you imagine if we lived in a world where we got season 1 of The Mandalorian, spaghetti western, really cool, kind of back to the original, back to basics with Star Wars, and the first season goes off without, like, incredibly, we get introduced to little Grogu and all. Like, it was amazing. I'll never forget watching it for the first time. So good. And then we get season 2, which was just 10 times better than the first season. And then imagine that was it. Imagine there was, like, he goes off with Luke and that's it. The show's over. You don't care. Like, I think it should have ended there. And I really think that Disney went and goes, hang on a second. Grogu is like our biggest seller in toys and everything, merch, blah, blah, blah. We got to bring him back. Like, and then
Exactly.
it's like they go and pick him up again and bring him back to Din Djarin. It just didn't make any sense to the pacing of the show and the storytelling. Like, I really feel, and I like, a lot of rumors in the background that, Jon Favreau's kind of done with Star Wars now and isn't in it as much as he was. And I think it's because his story got fucked up by Disney deciding to bring Grogu back, which is ridiculous. I really think they should have, like, if they're going to bring Grogu back, fair enough. The fucking alien can live for 900 years. Like, bring him back in episode 10 or something. You know what I mean? Like, let him be gone for a while. But the fact that you bring him back, like, I don't even know. Do we have an official timeline of how long he was actually away from Din Djarin? I don't even, like, it feels like a couple of weeks. Maybe it was a couple of years. I don't know. But it feels like a couple of weeks. I think Dave, like, trying to save themselves, I think they said 2 years.
Yeah, I think it was 2
years. It doesn't feel like 2 years at all, bro.
Right. Sorry. I remember you were saying that back then. You were like, it's only been, like, it could have been like 2 days even. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it feels like 2 weeks, not 2 years.
But to be honest, so sorry. Go, Zeba.
Well, I was going to say, I just wanted to tail off of, like, your guys' opinion on, like, how the ending to season 2 should have been, where he removes the helmet. I think that would have been a great idea, considering that, like, let's kind of advance on that as well. Like, let's expand and say, like, he removes the helmet, he says goodbye, and then the remaining people of Mandalore that know of Din Djarin find out that he took off his helmet, and he tells them, like, yeah, I quit. And then it's like that moment of, like, okay, so, like, his story is technically done, but if they wanted to bring him back for season 3, they could have given, like, a larger drive to why he should go back to the waters. Considering, like, oh, I quit. I'm not part of Mandalore anymore. Like, and so they're like, well, no, we need you to come back, and we need you to, like, restore yourself, and we also need you to restore yourself with Bo-Katan. Like, we need something that drives a reason for them to go there. It just felt really weird.
Yeah.
That they forced him to have it taken off, and then he has to go and clean himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
So, like, that's why I wanted to tack on for, like, the end of season 2 to kind of drive the reason for season 3.
Facts.
If I'm not mistaken, the Filoni and Favreau, they had only 2 seasons in plan for the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
So they were only 2 seasons that would be the main story. Mm-hmm. And obviously, after the blown up of Grogu and so on, then obviously Disney's got a Disney. The money needs to keep coming. So from one point of view, I can understand that the first season looks very chopped up, and they had also like Finto said, all of the real life issues that all of the studio had, and now obviously all of the problems that they're currently. So it's not exactly a very easy life for them, but I don't know, maybe they still need somebody to tell them, okay, we're good like this, or if you want to really go forward with the story, just you need to double down on it.
Right.
Yeah. I think with Star Wars, and I don't know why Star Wars does this, and maybe Marvel does this as well, I don't really know, but it feels like with all the Star Wars shows, especially like the first couple of seasons of Mandalorian, for example, like each episode was written and directed by different people. So there's like so many different cooks in the kitchen. It feels kind of weird, right? Like, so it's like this is the first show now where I believe Dave actually wrote the whole thing. He wrote the whole script. Now, and I understand other directors come in and direct an episode here and there. That's probably okay, but maybe not. Maybe the, when you've got a movie, obviously it's the same writers, it's the same director, it's one vision, and that's it. You go out and you tell that story. I think what's maybe getting lost a little bit, especially with the likes of Kenobi and stuff like that, like and Boba Fett, like those shows were all over the place, like up and down. Like I remember some of the episodes of Boba Fett like being pretty okay. Like I think if I remember correctly, the first two were pretty good. Then I think 3 and 4 were kind of shit, but 4 had a few good moments in it. And then like 5 and 6 were just the Mandalorian. It wasn't even Boba Fett. It felt so weird. And like what's hilarious is those 2 episodes of the Mando that were in Boba Fett were some of the best episodes of Mando ever. And they weren't even in the Mandalorian show. It was so weird, bro. Like honestly, I don't understand it at all. And then obviously we have the finale for Boba Fett, which is again directed by different people again, and just completely different vibe from the last 2 episodes that you watched. So the shows are just like spiking up and down. They're waving all over the place. I really think that you need to get one sole writer or one team of writers to go in, write the whole script, and then you get like 1 or maybe 2 directors to come in and just do the whole show. Like I really think. Like even like Bryce Dallas Howard, like she's come in Mando in season 1 and 2, and like I think she directed 1 episode in each season, and they were phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It's like give her a whole season, let her just do her own, let her do a project, like give her a movie, do something with her, and then like it's like they get in all these other guys who are probably fine by themselves, like the Rodriguez fella that came in. He in my opinion did some of the worst episodes, but I believe he's done some good stuff. But again, it's like he obviously doesn't work well with others. And when you're coming in off another episode, it's like, okay, this person's done this episode and it's completely different to the way I would tell a story. And now I got to kind of jump in and try and continue their story, but make it my own. And then the next director has to come in and try and fix all the stuff that Rodriguez did wrong. Like it's a mess. Like it just seems so unnecessary. And I don't think Marvel do that. Now, maybe correct me if I'm wrong in the chat or whatever, but I don't think that Marvel
did that. No, Marvel did that. But obviously, but they had Kevin Feige, so he was like the anchor point. He said, we need to cover this phase in these movies. So obviously every MCU movie had another director besides.
Of course, no, I mean the shows, sorry.
And so on. No, it's good.
I'm just talking about the shows.
Yeah, obviously, but what I'm trying to say, if even all the series on Disney Plus about Star Wars had Filoni or doesn't matter who, a director that's going to say, okay, I would like that all of these series have this road, and each director can direct his own episode in this so-called road, then obviously would have a bit of continuity. Mm-hmm. But if the guy who made the Boba scenes in Mando, then if he wanted to go forward like that type of action with Boba and so on, then you would have an amazing Boba series.
Right.
But if he got, I don't know, they needed absolutely to create some backstory and make something. How did he came from there, from the Sarlacc pit, he came out, and so on. Yes, everybody was fantasizing. How did he come out from that pit? What happened? So obviously there were like some key points that they needed. They need how no. So it was needed to be covered, but they, let's say, did it like a semi good job. And obviously even the Vespa gang and all that thing was not exactly like.
That was horrible. The mods.
Sorry, I couldn't. Oh my god! I couldn't even hold that laugh, bro. Sorry.
I know. It's all good. It's all good. I love it. That's why I love to talk to other people. I know how to push buttons. But this is the thing. It's like, for example, if we're gonna do like a chat about some stuff, obviously we know what direction we want. So each of us is going to bring another point of view to the same discussion or some arguments and so on. But if you're going to say, okay, we need to do a Boba thing or what type of series, and each and every one of us is going to get an episode, nobody knows what they're going to do, but they're going to do something. So then afterwards they need to stitch it together. So maybe that was the issue that they didn't have. They didn't have like a sole image in mind. We want to tell this story, so come with something that's going to interconnect, or maybe even the directors they didn't talk to each other.
Yeah,
or maybe they
Very
didn't have the idea what happened with the character before. Like, who was the guy? He said, I never wrote, I never read Star Wars. I not exactly that big in Star Wars, but he directed like a series or like a movie or something like that. I don't remember. What's the guy? Oh, there was something a couple
I
of years
can't
ago,
remember.
something.
Yeah, I
No,
don't
but
know.
it's like for example, just make it easy. Even with the One Piece or with the mangaka, if he's gonna make like an anime, and the anime studio is gonna make from the manga to the animation, he's gonna supervise that. He wants to see that the key features from that chapter or so-called chapters, they need to be in there because that's practically the connecting point between all the chapters. So obviously they want to have that continuity so that you can still tell the story. Because like you said, if the Boba series would have been a bit more, not too many beta tanks because he needed to take a lot of baths or do his stuff, then maybe you would have a bit more action in kicking some butt from somebody and not waiting for Din Djarin to come in the last two seasons. Is gonna be like boom, 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 and gonna kill everybody. So the Boba that I knew from the Clone Wars or even from the animation, he was like shooting first, asking later. You know
100%.
He's
Yeah,
very quiet.
yeah,
exactly. So he's like, don't worry, I really want to take out how it's called, the Master Jedi from Samuel L. Jackson. Windu. He had his big grudge on Windu. He wanted revenge on Windu because he killed his father. So
Right.
that
yeah,
was his like key goal in his life. He wanted to take out Windu.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
doing that, he went all kinds of dark.
Yeah, that was
Even doing
great.
the
Like, and
small
again,
kid. Yeah.
Boba was a fair character in the lore. Again, I like, you didn't really see much of him unless like you read comic books or played the games or whatever. Like, he didn't really appear in the movies and stuff. Like, I think he was in episode 7 for a little bit, and then in episode 8 for fucking 5 minutes. Like, and that was, or episode 7. Sorry, 6, 5, and 6. What am I saying? All over the place with the numbers. But yeah, basically, he was probably on screen for about 20 minutes in the original trilogy, but he just became such an like iconic character, and just the show just ruined him. It really annoys me. There's this commentator. I really like this comment in the chat. And I presume we're talking about Ahsoka here, but like, I can't fault the show at all. Like, honestly, like, I'm really enjoying Ahsoka. I really like it. I think it feels really like Star Wars, and as I say here, the set design's great, mythical atmosphere, and complemented with a great score. Like, I can't like, listen to what we said last week on the show. It was like I was praising it to pieces. I love it. Even just the opening credits of the show, when we get like the text rolling down and then it cuts to space and we see the big spaceship and everything. Like, it just felt Star Wars as fuck to me. So I'm very happy
Oh,
with Ahsoka.
facts.
Very, very happy with
Same
Ahsoka.
here. Same here. Same here. I love it. I'm watching it. I like it. So I was also, to be honest, I was starting to say, okay, I'm going to cancel all the subscriptions that I have because the content is not exactly worth the money,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I would say even the last MCU movies, I didn't watch them in the theaters because I don't want to drive 40 kilometers from my home to a cinema where I can watch a movie in original version and pay the amount of money and stay and practically invest time and money to see a movie that they still can get me hyped about. But Ahsoka got me from the get-go because the episode that we got with Ahsoka in the Mando series, oh man, in the
Yeah.
forest, just
Oh,
assassin
so
style
good.
coming in,
Yeah.
down, next one. So that was
Yeah.
so obviously seeing that episode that told you instantly that's gonna be fire.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I again,
Yeah.
praising on Mando season 2, it was peak Disney Plus, in my opinion, like for original series, absolute peak. I'm gonna ask one more Star Wars question, and
Go
then
ahead.
we're going into One Piece. So, what's the what's the prediction for next week's episode of the show? Like, sorry, well, it's on in a couple of days. So we're streaming this on a Sunday evening. So I think the show airs on Wednesdays or Tuesdays if you're West Side. What do you think? Like, what's coming next?
I think that Balin and Ahsoka are gonna have a duel. She's gonna go, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than anyone.
Oh, yes.
And
I
then
like it.
she gets stricken down. Sabine's like, no! And then they take off, and then Sabine becomes the next Jedi.
You think Ahsoka's gonna die? in episode 4 of her
Nah.
own show. Get
I'm
out of
just,
here, bro.
bro. I'm just messing with you. I'm just doing episode 4.
How dare
No,
you say that?
that's sorry, man. Like that's just how it feels. Like it's kind of the same, like a similar kind of situation. You saw that he's like Sabina's training with the visor on because she
Yeah,
like
yeah.
she's like, I don't know how to do this shit, and then like clearly the droid is trying to egg her on and say that she's no good. But Ahsoka just needs her to be a trained swordsman in the sense, like just be able to use the lightsaber effectively, not necessarily be force sensitive. So
Well,
if
everyone is force sensitive. That's the whole point.
that is the whole point.
Everybody has the force. It's just like being a martial artist or a ninja or some shit. You know, it's like depending on how much time and how much talent you have, you put into it. The more you put into it, the more you get out. And I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is like he is the lowest like metachlorian count of anyone on the council, but yet he's one of the best Jedi because he puts the fucking time in. You know,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
I think where they're gonna go with the show, and I think I was kind of annoyed, and I was watching the last scene in the show where she's trying to move the cup and all, and I was thinking like, if this cup moves, I'm kind of going to be annoyed because it's like it's been told, like the droid said, you have the least amount of potential that I've ever seen in a Padawan, which means she's got the lowest force connectivity of any Jedi ever, and I think that's great. It's good that they've actually referenced this because this is a kind of hot point
Obviously.
for a lot of people. Like a lot of people think that she shouldn't be a Jedi. She's not force sensitive. She's a Mandalorian. Like, how is she just a Padawan now? It's kind of ridiculous, but at least they're kind of referencing that and actually trying to sound it out and actually make it make sense. So I think by the end of the season, maybe we'll see her kind of shake a little cup a little bit. It'll be like the end of Inception, where like the pin. It's like did the pin move or not? Like leave it up to yourself.
I thought you were gonna reference X-Men. The Last Stand, you remember, or is it The Last Stand? And like he kind of like you see Ian McKellen as Magneto. He's kind of like sitting there, and then you see the chess piece move, and then he goes credits.
Yeah. Or even do you remember at the end of Batman v Superman where like the dirt just moves a tiny bit? It's like they've actually done this a lot in Hollywood. I'm actually thinking of like a few times that they've done it now. But I loved that one at the end of Batman vs Superman where like the dirt just slowly starts to rise. You're like, oh my god, he's still alive. I loved it, dude.
I saw this comment from Liam that he hates that everybody has the force. Practically everybody can do whatever they want, but some have a bit more talent than the other. So practically, if I'm gonna be like maybe an amazing gamer, I can maybe play all types of shooters because I have so much hours like Finto has in Fortnite and so on. But you're gonna get a bit faster into some games than others. So for somebody who maybe has the force with a bit more talent and experience is gonna get a bit more sensible very faster. And others, maybe even having a connection to force, maybe you can feel a tingling somewhere, and that's gonna be the whole force sensitivity you're gonna get. So I think that's like Vito said, you gotta have the talent, but even if you have zero talent, if you're gonna put in the work, you're never gonna get above a level.
Take it in the real world. You can put in as much time as you want rolling on mats trying to be a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, but if you don't have the talent, you're never going to get there. You might be able to throw down an armbar after years of training, but you're never going to be good if you don't have that talent. So I suppose it's all about talent, and time put in creates results.
So Andre, you've watched Naruto, right?
Oh baby,
Liam always comes in with fantastic comments.
So like. Liam.
Don't worry, I'm gonna call 2% on Bo, Liam.
But yeah, no, like with Andre, like you've seen Naruto, like it's kind of like it could end up like a Rock Lee situation where Sabine has just amazing work with the lightsaber, but she just does not have any sort of force powers.
Yeah,
exactly.
We spoke about this last week, Alex, and you made a very good point last week where we were talking about you brought up like General Grievous, for example, where it's like the dude's not force sensitive at all, but he was like a great swordsman because he trained for so long and he trained under Dooku and so on. And it's like, yes, she could be a good swordsman, of course. Like she's a Mandalorian, so she's like built for battle and all this sort of stuff. But at the same time, if you come up against a force user with a lightsaber, you're dead. Like there's no two way. There can't be any two ways about it. A Sith or a Dark Jedi who has Force powers should be easily able to run through somebody who doesn't, no matter how talented you are at fighting.
Mhm.
I mean, all you gotta do is
Obviously,
Force choke them or grab the
don't
lightsaber out
forget
of their hand.
don't forget she has the Beskar, so she can still use the Beskar
True.
in
True.
some shape or form. So even if you're gonna force choke somebody, if you got a blaster, you see, if you're gonna shoot Vader, maybe he's gonna laugh at you and he's gonna break your neck in a snip. But if you're gonna have like another force user, if he's gonna be constant in that choke or in that force power, and you're gonna double tap him, maybe one shot is gonna come through. So yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think Sabine Wren, if she's not force sensitive, then she gets to use the forbidden technique
Yeah,
and just
fucking why not?
be a cheater, just be a mega cheater.
The 1,000 years later.
To be honest, though, why not? I think they should all be doing that now. You know, why not? But I'm actually interested to see when you're talking about the Beskar armor. Obviously, we see her wearing the armor and stuff, and any other images or clips that I've seen from trailers and stuff, you do see her fighting again, but she doesn't have the mask on again. So I wonder, will we actually see her fighting with a lightsaber with the mask on? Maybe she loses it in the last battle or something, but it'd be kind of cool to see a Mandalorian jumping around the place with a lightsaber, using the jetpack and having a lightsaber in her hand. I think it would, like, visually, it would look great.
I mean,
Story wise,
right?
maybe it'll be shit. Yeah, but like, again, I like the idea of Grogu, but at the same time, I think he needs to age by like another 400 years before he can become anything like Yoda. You know, I don't know. That's just me.
And don't forget, Sabine has a very high IQ in technology, so she's making gadgets.
True.
So
true. Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
guys, we're about to hit 1 hour here, so do you want to jump into One Piece? Because I don't know, we could be here for another hour. I don't really know. Let's talk about One Piece.
Very smooth.
I'm gonna start the conversation.
No, you're not gonna start. This is a
Andre. It's like he's the most he's the newest in terms of like anime. Let's see what he has to say before we put our two.
Yes. So what I was gonna say is, I think it's best that I talk first because, again, I'm a virgin here. I'm new, you know. So I'm gonna come in, say a few things, and then you guys just run away with it, you know.
Okay.
So I'm the
baby. Give me one sentence. The only thing that I want to say is that a lot of people told me, yeah, One Piece, the anime is so old, the start of the anime is so slow. It's a 90s. It's a 90s anime. So the live action is going to be like a revamped, maybe the first chapter until the Grand Line. And so many people are going to start the anime from the start because of the live action. So go with it.
Yeah, so for me, again, I've never watched one. I saw one clip from One Piece, and it was that time, Alex, you showed me the Gear 5 thing. That's the only thing I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, like that was nuts, right?
Yeah, it was cool. But that was the only thing I've ever seen from One Piece. So again, I'm completely new, don't know any of the characters. Off the bat, I'll say I don't mind Luffy. He's okay, like, but he's not. I could see him getting a little annoying. Please don't hate me. But it's I don't know. I see him kind of getting a little bit. I'm sure he'll grow on me as the time goes on. But like some of the things he's saying and just the way he acts on, I'm kind of just like, this guy's he's a little annoying. But it is what it is. The dude Zoro, is it Zoro or Zoro, however you pronounce his name?
Whichever way you want to pronounce it.
Just go with it.
He's my favorite in the show so far. Anyway, I don't know how he. I don't know what he's like in the manga or what he's like in the animated series, but in the show, I think he's a fucking badass. You know what I mean? Except for when I saw the third blade going in his mouth, I was like, "This is silly." I was like, "What the hell is this about?"
Oh, that's his thing, man.
Yeah. Again, I'm like, you know, I sat down to watch this with my missus, and she's kind of looking at me going, Jesus, like, this is something our son would watch, and he's 9. Like, and I was just like, well, it is based off an anime and like a cartoon and shit. Like, so, you know, it's going to be quite childish, but I do see it kind of developing. And I've heard that once you kind of get towards the end of the series, it's a little more mature, and, you know, it kind of gets on its tracks and starts going. But it seems kind of a little all over the place and a little childish at the start. I understand that, but then I remember looking at, there's a part where your man Zoro chops this dude in half, and I was like, well, not so childish anymore, because like, you ready to see around and guts falling out and everything. I was like, yes. I was like, this is what we want. That was cool. I was like, hell yeah. I don't like what's his name, Kobe, the little fucking shit with the glasses.
Oh, they did Kobe dirty in this one. To be completely honest,
he just annoys me.
yeah, but he was like that also at the start until he went to God. So
Well,
okay,
like,
Pinto, go on.
right. Like, I don't want to get too crazy into this yet.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so again, I've only seen 3 episodes, so let's not go into like episode 800 of the fucking anime or something, you know.
No. This is literally
No,
like at the
no.
beginning too.
Okay. So yeah, like
Yeah.
look, you know, I can't remember the girl's name. I think she's kind of an
Nami.
interesting character.
Nami?
Yeah, but again, there's a bit of mystery around it. Like, is she good or is she bad? Which I'm like, yeah, this is cool. This is good storytelling. I'm kind of intrigued to see who she's talking to on the snail phones. The snail phones, by the way, are outrageous. Like
Oh, dude, like,
outrageous. And she's got like a little one that she puts in her ear. It's like an earpiece.
I don't think I've ever seen that kind in the anime. To be honest, I think it's all been
The small
either
ones?
yeah, they have the baby ones and then they have the regular size
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Yeah, I was watching it late last night, and when the snail phone started ringing, I was kind of like, "Am I asleep?" Like I thought it was like drifting off or something. I was like, "Is this actually happening right now?" I was kind of like, "What the hell
Oh,
am I
dude,
watching?"
yeah.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Well,
At all.
One second. Give me 1 second.
oh, I think Andre's pulling something up, but like, yeah, that's exactly
That's your-
like you.
Is that your
That's what you're
ringtone?
supposed to.
Exactly.
That's what you're
I love
supposed to hear when you hear the transponder snail, because it's like it's literally their way of communication, and
Yeah,
exactly.
the way that they portrayed it in the live action isn't my favorite, because it's not like 1-to-1. It should have been 1-to-1. I think it would have been funnier if it was. But I kind of understand why they, like, maybe they're just using it as a phone instead of like a speaker. Because for the most part, Andre can vouch me on this. For the most part, they're on speaker when it's
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
transponder snail. But that's the point, is because the transponder snail is talking back, so you kind of have a face
Yeah.
to talk to, and then depending on who's behind the like which line you're talking to, the snail actually changes his face
Oh,
to
wow, okay.
reflect who exactly you're talking to. So if they've got a big ass mustache, they're gonna have a big ass mustache.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw a bit of the fruits and stuff, or what are they called? Demon fruits or
The
something
devil
like that?
fruits.
Or devil fruits, yeah.
Yeah. They were
So
fruits.
I saw obviously Luffy's one is like the stretch one to make him like stretch Armstrong or whatever. And
Yeah.
then I saw the episode, I don't know if it was episode 2 or 3 with the what's his name? Buddy or
Oh,
something. The
Buggy the clown.
Buggy, yeah. I'm fucking at everything up here, sorry. But yeah, like he was
Don't
like he could
worry.
like turn into like 100 pieces or some shit. Like that was kind of crazy. So like yeah, look, you know, again, I know the show's gonna get wild. I'm in it though. I wanna watch more. Like obviously I was paying attention to the Discord. A few people were in the Discord talking about it during the week as well. Like, and you know, it got some good reception. I'm watching it on IMDb. Like it's got high rating. Each episode is rating right. Like there's no episode that rates under an 8, which is good. It's great for
Great.
TV. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
It has
So-
94% audience on tomatoes.
oh
Rotten
yeah,
Tomatoes.
yeah. So
Nice.
like,
Yeah.
look, you know, it's off to a really good start. And I'm intrigued to watch more. I'd say before we sit down next week, I'll probably have it finished, to be honest, because my missus didn't like it and she doesn't want to watch it, so I get to watch it solo now. So I'll watch an episode
Speed
tomorrow
run.
when I'm in work.
need
I'll
to-
watch an episode after work. You know, it'd be fine. We'll fly through
No, so
it.
you need to give it a bit of time because, to be honest, what Zeba told about the transponder snails, my opinion, they don't want to give too much out from the next chapters that they're going to make. For what I understand from Netflix, they really want to go on with it. So they want to just make live action through and through till Wano. So they really want to go all in.
All the way to Wano.
They really so for what I got from the internet, because they average something like 18 million per episode. So
Wow.
there are some characters,
Wow.
yeah. So there are some characters like Shank's crew. They weren't exactly the best. So Aesop, he was fire. I loved him. So we're like,
Yes, that was sick.
That was very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So practically, there are some characters that we saw in the bar fight. They were like, yeah. In the anime, you have them a bit somehow else, but still, I love what they did even in the live action because they want to bring the people in. So because I know that Oda is like an executive producer on the whole series, that means he's gonna say what's going, what's not. Then that they made this series like this, I loved it, and because I'm so so to say, so in love with the voice of the original characters. I watched in Japanese with subtitles
Nice.
because if I know that Luffy has that voice, and I wanted to see the first time I watched it in English, through and through, and but still, it sounds a bit like clunky because I have the gomu gomu no mi,
Yeah,
not
like
gum gum, like gum pistol. No, that's not for me. So I don't know. It's because I have and even Zoro, because Finto said Zoro is like badass. You should hear the voice actor for Zoro in Japanese.
yeah,
When
the
that
voice
guy
actor for Zoro is
speaks,
amazing.
Yeah.
when that guy speaks, it's like he's putting so much how I want to say, but like depth in the character. Is like you cannot listen to the guy in English because Zoro has, when he talks, he's talking always like short, straight, and that's it. So if you,
Yeah.
for example, Luffy in the anime, he's like a kid. He's like 14 years old. He doesn't have that much imagination in fighting, how to fight, what he can do, and he still doesn't know. In the series now we're talking, he doesn't know what his devil fruit is capable to do. So practically now, all the fights that you're seeing, he's like invented them on the spot. He thinks, okay, I can stretch, then let's make a big ass fist. So he's pushing his fist to the back, and that's a pistol. That's it. And if you're gonna go forward in the series, then you're gonna see when he's gonna go to the Arlong fight, and he's gonna think, okay, this guy is so much overpowering, and he doesn't have the power, the capability to do it. So he's gonna think something new. And that's practically the thing that I like in the One Piece, is that the stories is so intricate and so complex. Because to be honest, the last 7 years of the manga, it's only 7 to 10 days in the reality of One Piece.
Right.
And that's 7 years of storytelling. So you
Wow.
can imagine how intricate Oda is thinking and going in details and so on. And for example, like you saw Dracula Mihawk. What do you think about that character? Pinto,
Who is it, sorry?
the guy
I
with the
think
swords.
I think he only saw him for a brief moment, Andre. I don't think he's been to the Bratia yet.
So he's episode 3. No, he's not in the Barati. Okay, so sorry on that.
That's okay.
Did you see the
I
guy
was
with-
fully expected to have it spoiled on me anyway, so it's
when
all
you
good.
saw the first
No,
episode?
so
Did you
it's
see a
not
guy with
spoiled.
like
I
a...
didn't spoil nothing.
No,
It's
you really
just
didn't.
a guy.
You really didn't.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying I was expecting there to be spoilers, so I don't really mind. This isn't something that I'm like truly invested in. So if you did want to talk about what, you can talk about whatever. I don't really care.
I've only done
Okay, so
the first 2 episodes of the live action, so like I haven't had a chance to really go all the way in yet.
So Andre, I'm right in thinking you've watched it fully in English and now you're going back and doing a second rewatch in Japanese. Is that right?
no, I already watched it 2 times. Once in Japanese, once in
Okay, so you've seen it
original.
fully twice now.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there are
Second
some things. No, it's because I was very curious to see if this is gonna worth my time.
Yeah.
So I skipped some points because I know how Luffy is or how the characters are. I wanted to see if the actors can really take to live action the characters that I have in my mind. You know.
Yeah.
So Nami, it's 10 out of 10. Zoro, perfect. Luffy, it's a bit goofy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's a bit much.
in the anime, he's like, he doesn't give a shit, to be honest. He's like, he has his dream, and that's practically the thing that's connecting the Straw Hats crew. The Straw Hats Pirate, each and every one of the characters of the main crew, they have a dream. Luffy, he wants freedom. Zoro wants to be the best swordsman in that world. Sanji wants to find the all blue, and these are things that you're going to see even in one action, in the live action. So they're not like exactly spoilers. They're like the made goals. See you, Trent. They're like the main goals of the crew, and that's quite amazing because they really are bringing the anime characters to life, and I like it. And I really enjoy the live action, how they did it. Some small things they changed it. I don't know why. Maybe Oda or maybe somebody said, okay, let's make it a bit more interesting. But you're gonna see that in the future. And if you're gonna maybe look to see a bit more details, then you need to watch the anime
Right.
because the live action is gonna cover so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Considering when you see the live action compared to the anime, you have to remember this is roughly, so if you were to go through all the episodes right now of the live action One Piece first season, it's only covering up to the point where they're reaching the Grand Line, which is roughly about 60 episodes, 60 something episodes.
Yeah, it's like the first two seasons almost from the
Yeah,
anime.
because you have to go through the recruitment process and Arlong
Yes.
Park in addition to Logtown. So then you reach Reverse Mountain, and then that's kind of the end of that season. And then once you get past Reverse Mountain, that's the start of the Grand Line. That's when you start really opening up to the world. So right now it's a very,
Exactly.
very small portion of the world. So as long as if the show's doing well on just the small portion of the world, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. I do agree with Andre. There's a lot of things that I was just like, why did they change that? Why did they, why did they move this here? Why did they make Luffy want to do this instead of that? But ultimately, I think what works well for the show is the fact that it doesn't stray from the destination. It just takes a different
Yeah.
path. So it's not turning around. You're not going to a different island. You're not going to somewhere else. You're not picking up a new crewmate. You're going in the same direction. You're gonna pick up Usopp. You're gonna pick up Sanji. You're gonna get to Arlong Park. You're gonna get to Logtown. You're gonna get to Reverse Mountain. It's how they get there, which is why like I think I kind
They
of
just got to
like.
they got to do it quicker, obviously.
Yes, exactly. So like they're scrunching it all
Yes,
down.
they needed to.
Yeah.
They needed to.
Yeah.
They needed to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
100%. Like the fact that you told me that the first season is like 67 episodes of the anime, I'm impressed that they're able to crush 67 episodes into how many episodes is it in the live action? 8?
8.
Or
Yeah.
8, yeah. So like
But
that's impressive, you know.
Well,
yeah. Go.
yeah, it's for the fact that like you said, like and if it would cost so much fucking money,
Yeah.
like especially for a live action to
Well, I
try to
worry
do
too.
every single episode.
I worry too because it's like, Netflix don't usually like to go over season 4, season 5. They usually like to, end projects and move on to something else, put the money into a new project. Now,
They cannot do that
Str-
with One Piece.
well, that's what
They're
I'm
gonna
thinking.
lose
Like,
so much.
yeah, that's why I'm thinking like either they're gonna try and compress too much and then they're gonna lose people, or they're gonna stretch it out too far. And what I would be afraid of is if they did, let's say it's 67 episodes for each season. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's like nearly 1,100 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like that show is gonna have to have 10 seasons more. And it's like,
Yeah.
are Netflix gonna actually be able to hang on, or be able or willing to hang on for that long to tell the full story? Which, if I'm not mistaken as well, it hasn't even ended yet. So it's still going on. So there
No.
is no end. So
Right.
it's like, are Netflix fully committed? Are they going to be able to make this show for 10 seasons? I don't know. So it
So
really depends. Like
practically,
how far are they going to start jumping? They're going to have to start jumping.
yeah, so practically, even in the anime, there are some fillers because sometimes the mangaka just need a bit of time to make the
Yeah.
story move forward.
Mhm.
But for me, they need to practically just hit on the main, so to say, the key points in the whole anime or in the whole story. For example, like Zebo told us, getting the crew together, that's the key point of the first season, because you need to fall in love with each individual character, and they nail the characters. Because Nami, she's like that. She's the cat burglar. She's just a manipulator of other characters until she understands that she needs them and they need her. So then at the start, Luffy needs her because she needs a navigator. It's a key point in a crew. You need to know how you're going, how you're going to move through the seas. And being like that, Zoro just jump in. He was like, just okay, I'm going to stick with you from the start. We're not a crew. I have my things, you have your things. But after he got his one-on-one with somebody, then he said, okay, I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to vow for you. I'm going to go to you to the end of the road. So practically they have that, so to say, like 4 points. They're gonna meet up, something is gonna happen, they're gonna see Luffy's the guy who can take them to the next step. And once that they're gonna be at the next step, they say, okay, we're gonna be together to the end.
Right.
And that's what practically is gonna stick the whole Straw Hats together. Even Sanji, even Usopp. Usopp at the start, he doesn't know that he has the qualities of his dad. And for example, I don't want to spoil that much, but he's like a sniper. He doesn't know for now what he can do. But once that he's gonna learn from Luffy that he met his dad before him, then he's gonna be like, ooh. But he's still gonna have those scary cat features that he always have, and storytelling, and that's practically Usopp. He's like the living clown of the Straw Hats pirates. So practically each member of the crew, once that they're inside the crew, they have a very unique point and very unique spot that's how do you say it? Like it's very important for the crew, and none could go forward without the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they learn that, like, throughout all of their suffering, throughout all of their angst, and throughout all of the things that they've encountered, in reality, they have people that care about them as well,
Yeah,
and that they have people that want them to succeed, and so they're driven for even further beyond at that point. So like once they're on the crew, they know who they are now. So in accordance to what's going on right now, Finto, from where you are, I would say Zoro is technically a part of the crew. Like in the anime, Zoro already joins the crew from the from the second or third episode.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because he's like, okay, if you really want me to be part of your crew, I want to be the world's greatest swordsman. Don't, like, if you get in the way of that, I need you to atone for this.
Mhm.
So like he's willing to put all of himself into helping Luffy, as long as Luffy can help him become a greater swordsman. And so like it kind of shows all of that moving forward. You see, Usopp wants to be a great warrior of the sea because he's never really gone out. He's always been known as a liar within the Syrup Village because Yasop took off, like, and he had his mom to take care of. And I didn't watch the third episode, but I'm assuming that it's kind of a similar upbringing, in the sense that like his mother like wasn't feeling well, and that he kind of had to take care of himself from that point on. And so in order to make friends with the villagers, he thought that like spreading lies and saying that the pirates were coming was going to be like the ultimate way to let people know that he exists. And so it kind of creates that complex. So like when he's now, like, once he's on the ship, it's that complex of like, I need to be seen, I need to be known. And so like you can see that driving forward.
exactly.
With Sanji, like I love Sanji's idea that like he just wants to be a great cook within the Bratier, but like Zareth knows that he has so much potential, so he kicks him out. And you'll see in the next episode. I'm sure like you'll be watching it pretty soon. So I won't go into too much details, but like I think you'll like Sanji, Finto, like, and I think you'll like the dynamic between Sanji and Zoro, considering that Zoro is Luffy's right hand man. Zoro is
Yeah,
Luffy's first mate. So,
Good. He's
and
the best character in the whole thing.
the second in
dude,
command.
he is. So
Yeah,
whatever Zoro says usually is what goes as well. So if Luffy's not around and Zoro can make the commands, he'll do it. And he's done it a couple times, but he's very lenient. They're a very lenient group. They tend to kind of listen to each other, which is kind of why it works so well between them. It's not just the group of pirates all leaning towards one captain and going, "Yay, hooray!" Because if you were to watch the anime, a lot of the weaker pirates tend to crowd around one single captain and think that he's the greatest, and that they all worship him because they think that he's the most powerful, when in fact the quantity over the quality like shows a difference.
Yeah.
exactly.
So like that's one of the coolest things that I like about the show. Like later on, this is way forward, Andre. I know you'll know what this is. But in this, like, there's a moment in the anime where they're going into a town because they want to know how to get into the sky. And so there's a guy sitting in the bar and he's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is modern times. Get over this shit. There's no legends anymore. It's all about the treasure. It's
There's
all
no
about the
One
here and now.
Piece. There's no treasure. There's nothing.
Nothing. And so like,
Just lies.
and Nami told Luffy, like, I don't attack anybody. And Luffy and Zoro did the same. Like, they didn't attack anybody. They got hurt. They got attacked. They got thrown around, and then they walked away. And so it shows though, like, how these big mouths tend to think that they're tough shit because they think that they're better than them due to the fact that they have more, like, they have more worth, more of a bounty. But
Yeah.
from what they don't understand is that in that moment, Luffy's bounty had already jumped from 30 million to 100 million. And the guy who attacked him was 50 million.
Wow.
So later on, he comes back because the guy that was going to help him got attacked by that guy. So they went back. So Luffy went by himself, went back into town, and they're like, what? You're by yourself? Like, you want to fucking go? Like, I beat you up for like earlier. Let's go. And Luffy is like, you want to know what a real punch feels like? And literally the guy uses his ability, jumps towards him, and you think it's gonna be like a straight up duel. Luffy goes, Pah! Shoots him down into the floorboard. And he's like that, and basically that was like he was out in one shot. And that shows like the big difference. Like the big talkers and the people that crowd them are the ones that are usually the weakest. And so like that's what I love about the show is that because and like the reason why I'm talking about this is because when it comes to Luffy in this show, in the live action, it's kind of reaching a point where Luffy's talking too much.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a bit too much for him to just constantly say that he's going to be king of the pirates. We know he's going to be king of the pirates. We understand that, people need to understand.
Sorry.
Sorry, Liam just came into the chat there. Finto has no idea what's going on here now.
Oh, of course not. I'm trying to make it as big as possible because eventually, if they do the seasons.
As I said, for anybody who's listening to this right now, who's a big One Piece fan, enjoy it. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully we'll get there soon. That's all I'm going to say. Go on, keep going.
So as of right now, Finto, like the reason why you don't like Luffy in the American, like the live action One Piece is because he's talking too much. I think that's the real issue with this right now is that he's talking way too much. Luffy talks, but he only talks when he really wants something or if he sees something that's interesting.
Me.
There's most of the time he's just like, I'm really hungry. Can we get some food? And and that's it. That's all it really is. And then Nami's like, quit trying to eat all the fucking food. We don't have any. We don't have a fridge. We don't have any. Like, it's literally this dynamic. And Zoro's often sleeping because he's always like training and then he rests.
Yeah.
So like,
and drinking very much.
Exactly. Zoro's a heavy drinker, which is kind of funny.
My guy.
So, but like,
exactly.
It's the cool dynamics between that. And so like when Luffy just is constantly talking and trying to like basically be an observation comedian. Have you ever seen those people? Like, have you ever seen like an observational comedian where they're constantly like picking at the audience? They're like, look at that guy, look at the guy. That's what Luffy feels right now. Like it's just this moment of like, oh, look at you, you're this. I'm like, I don't need that. I like Luffy has a reason to do things and he does them.
Facts.
Do you remember that moment in the anime when he was to the Princess Vivi in Alabasta?
Yeah, in Vivi. Yeah,
exactly. So practically from that moment, because even in the anime, Luffy was also talking and he was like jumping first and thinking afterwards.
Yeah.
Since that moment, then he switched to being captain.
Right.
Then he was a bit more strategic and methodic. So from one, I was thinking now because it was practically while you were saying it, I was thinking of the live action and practically, it's still a kid. So practically he doesn't know better. He's just trying to do things. He's still in the formation of the pirates. So practically now they're still trying to figure out how it's going to work.
Exactly.
But there's also a moment if they're going to go forward the whole thing to the end and so on, there's going to be a moment when Sanji's going to have like split roads where he needs to practically find some solutions, how he's going to go forward with his story. And he's going to be very not kind to Luffy, and he's gonna say, "I'm gonna leave the Straw Hats," and they're gonna duel. And because Luffy is such a complex character, but from the other side, it's still very simple because he has that point of view. If I know you enough, then I know what you want. And if you're gonna tell a lie to me, and I know it's a lie, he's not gonna interact with you
Right.
because he knows that what you're saying has no meaning, but you're just saying it. So practically in that moment in the story, Sanji is gonna leave. He's gonna fight him. Luffy's not gonna attack. He's gonna kick the shit out of him, to be honest. But he's
Yeah.
gonna say, "I'm not gonna move here, and I'm not gonna eat nothing if he's not from me."
Because you're my
And
cook.
he's gonna stay there exactly because you're my cook. So
Yeah.
practically, that's also something that says about the character per se. So he has such a strong will that he would not do stuff because he has so much faith in his friends and crewmates.
Right.
So practically, they're quite good on the live action. I'm quite satisfied with how the characters are working together and are connecting and the chemistry.
Right. But we
And
also have
even
to remember.
Mary,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and even the going Mary. It's at the start there was why they did it with the open mouth and you know. But to be honest, now it's kind of growing on me. Yeah.
Yeah, and like by all means, I totally understand like why they want to change things up. Again, like
Yeah.
I'm more than happy with the fact that they're trying to do a couple little things here and there to change it, because if they didn't and it was 1-to-1, if it's great, that's great. But imagine if it wasn't. Imagine if they skipped a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff and they had no way of really explaining all the things that were going on. This is a great way for them to kind of snake around and kind of make it feel like, okay, this is how we skip 10 episodes. Okay, this is how we skip another 10 episodes. So like they're really doing a pretty good job of working on that. And so
Well,
like
if they have the creator on as an EP as well, like obviously they're gonna know, as you were talking about earlier. I presume there's, I don't know how many episodes out of the 1100 that there are that are filler, but I presume they're gonna step over every single filler episode. Like if they're not gonna be making
Absolutely.
this
Oh
crazy
yeah.
expensive show on Netflix, and they're gonna be jumping in with filler, so you're gonna probably sidestep 200 episodes, I would say, overall, potentially for filler. So you know what I mean. You've only got like 800 then to deal with, which is still obviously a crazy number, but.
Right.
Yeah, like I think the fact that they have the creator of the show on as an EP, like that gives me hope that they will kind of stay true to the anime. And everybody that I've seen who's watched it that is a fan of the anime, they all have the same praise for the show, that it's true to it's a true adaptation, which is
Yeah.
it's rare.
and
It's
and
rare.
they're and like I said, they're doing with what resources they can use. They can't necessarily go crazy ham because then it would cost way more.
Oh
Because
yeah.
in animes, like you can animate so many different things, so
Oh
many
yeah, of
different
course.
like it's so easy. But in live action, holy shit, how much
Yeah,
CGI would you need to like make it so that Luffy does Gatling like 20 times?
Oh yeah.
Um,
yeah.
but like
And yeah, go.
So I just wanted to tack on with what you were saying, Andre, like, in terms of the relationship between like the Straya crew. So like Andre, you remember this as well. Like even further back, like there's a moment in the show, like in the anime, which I'm hoping to see if they decide to move forward with all these seasons. There's a moment where there's contention between the crew, and it's between two crewmates, and one of them happens to be Luffy, and to the point where Luffy's about to say, "Well, if you don't like it, get off my ship." And
Yeah.
luckily, and Sanji kicks Luffy's head down and tells him
Yeah.
to like not to say that. And it's one of those moments of like that's heart-wrenching moment of like knowing that you've had this big journey with a bunch of people, and one of them is willing to leave because of a fucking headbutting that they're doing.
That's life.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about the show, is the fact that there's these moments. But I'll tell you this, man, after everything that happens after that moment, because eventually that person does leave the crew. Everything that happens afterwards, leading up to the point where they can come back, really shows how important it is that Luffy is a strong captain.
Mhm.
And so like that's one of the biggest moments that I remember like in the anime. So I'm really hoping that they drive to that point in the live action.
And how far along in the anime is that? Like, is that
320 something episodes.
okay?
So there is, I would say, if they're gonna stick to the main story, they just need to cover until the whole crew is together, and it's
I
gonna be
presume
important.
I presume the crew is together by the end of season 1. Am I right?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
Well,
Oh, wow.
They-
Okay.
they're
just
gonna be
the first
like,
half of the crew.
Yeah.
yeah. So practically, it's the main crew that they're like the original from the before the Grand Line.
Right.
But in the Grand Line, in the crew, you still need a doctor. You still need a mechanic, so to say. You still need maybe some entertainment. So there are, for example, from the picture that you see here, this is the whole crew, but it's still not full because
Who's the skeleton
there's
playing
still
the guitar? We better see that
exactly
in live
Servant
action.
edition.
We better
the
see that in live
skeleton.
action.
No, this is more the back, more in the back. This is in Trilobog. They're gonna meet there, but practically he's the another character that's quite important to the crew because he's not only the entertain guy.
Right.
How what's his name? What's his name now? Come on, I cannot
Liam,
remember his name.
Liam
Sorry.
says that they had 320 episodes. The show never ends. Uh, yeah, there's like 1,100, bro, and it's still going. It's insane.
Yeah.
When did it start? I actually thought it was not that old.
90, 92 or something.
Oh wow. Okay,
Just
so
give
I
me
thought it
one
was
second.
99. I thought it was like really close to the.
Okay, so the skeleton guy is called Brook.
right.
Yeah, Brooke.
Nice. Yeah, I for some reason I don't know why, but I thought that I thought that the whole thing was about 10 years old or something. I thought they were just churning out
Oh no.
so
Well,
much stuff.
the anime started in 99.
Right. Okay. But the manga started in like 92. You're saying
Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna
97.
tell you now.
97.
Yeah. So the manga started in 97. Completely.
Still a long time.
Right?
Yeah.
Insane.
I don't picture there being a Netflix series around in 10 years' time. There just never has been. I just don't know if there will be. If this is the first show that does it, fantastic. I say amazing achievement to them. But I just really feel like, especially what Netflix are all about the numbers. Like no, like even if this show is incredible, if season 1 is amazing and it ends on a perfect note and we're lined up for season 2 and it's amazing. If Netflix don't get the exact numbers that they want, they don't give a fuck. They will cancel it straight away. Gone.
Think like
You know what I
this:
mean?
the
So they
One
gotta
Piece
get the numbers.
fans, there are a lot,
Oh yeah, it's true.
and the live action for One Piece broke the Netflix.
Yeah.
They had like I don't know what was the most watched series since availability or since it dropped or something like that. So it's starting to have bigger numbers than other series that they had. So
I was looking it up, and apparently I saw an article that was 3 days old. So obviously that's from probably the day after the show came out, and there was 46 million views on the episodes within the first 24 hours, which is crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously I'd say that's probably 10x since in the 4 days since.
So, in my opinion, if they're gonna keep like a steady road, if they're gonna nail the rest of the crew, and maybe if they're gonna get to Thriller Bark, and they're gonna nail Thriller Bark, practically that's the moment when they're gonna before the big time skip, so to say, because practically now at the start they're gonna use like basic powers, like in normal storytelling. They're gonna try and get better by training, but there's gonna be a point when the levels are gonna be so high in the story that they need to practically get OP, and that's when Hawk is gonna drop in. But until then, it's gonna be more basic stuff, and it's gonna be a bit interesting.
Right. So that means that they don't have to use as much of a budget if they were making
Yeah.
these seasons.
Thank you.
So yeah, so as of now, they could totally do what they can, but like Andre said, in the second half of the show, like they're gonna have to like it's got to be fire, so that they can kick up the budget, because the second half is going to cost them a metric fuck ton of money just to get all the right looks and the right feels to everything. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be shocked if they do Fishman Island, like because that's a big one.
So to be honest, I would expect that they're gonna get maybe until the Kuma is gonna make practically is gonna divide each and every member of the Straw Hat in a special point. Do you remember that time when Nami went to the weather island
Oh yeah, like when they
and
get
so
sent
on?
out by Kuma.
Yeah, exactly. So practically when he's gonna use his fruit and practically is gonna show Zoro all the so-called feelings that Luffy has after a fight or after something with that big bubble.
Oh yeah.
So
That
if they're gonna nail that part until then, I think all of the One Piece fans are gonna be like stick with this to the end.
yeah. I can
But
see that.
obviously, my only issue is gonna be if the actors that are gonna interpret the characters, if they're gonna get too greedy, that's shit.
Yeah.
How
I can see
long
that
was
too.
production on season 1? How long did it take for them to make this?
That's a very good
first
question.
season?
I have no idea. I can
Neither do
search it
I.
up fast.
So I'm curious, because why I'm curious is like, it sounds like they have a lot of story to tell. How long is it going to take for season 2 to come out? And I presume
I would
season 2 is probably
say
going to be like ramping up a lot more, require a lot more CGI, a lot more choreography, all that sort of stuff in season 2 than season 1. So a betting man would say season 2 is going to take longer to make than season 1.
Mhm.
I don't think so because season 2 is going to be easier. The thing is that when you don't have that many towns where you need to do stuff and so on, because the next chapters are going to be only islands. So obviously they need to find a way to connect the islands and find a way to make them all together. But it's not going. I don't think that they need to push that much on budget because they just need to have the Going Merry. That's the ship that they're gonna get in the first season, and afterwards they just need to find a way to connect the islands and the new crew members, and from there I think they can manage. So in my opinion, if they're gonna keep this 18 millions an episode for the next 2 or 3 seasons, that's going to be good. The only problem is going to be, like I said, my opinion is going to be the actors, because actors after each season they're going to get greedy. So if they want to be from the long run, then they just, I don't know, maybe say okay, each individual is going to get X amount, and if they're going to say okay, we have such a big hit, then just, I don't know, give them a bit more after each season just to keep them happy. But if the actors are going to want to make the fans happy, then they need to stick with us.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Because practically
that's
I
always
would
the scare.
I would
yeah.
presume with a project like this, when you're an actor coming into a role like this, I would presume that you have to know that you're going to be running for at least 5-6 seasons, and like that would be a kind of common sense, I would think. Now, if the show becomes the biggest show in Netflix history, the guys are obviously going to get greedy and look for more money. That's Hollywood, baby. That's the way it goes. Now, I
Oh
presume
yeah.
if Netflix are making the money, I'm sure they'll pay them out. Like I've never heard of Netflix not paying people when they deserve the money, but maybe they do. I don't know. But I just, my fear for the show is that they just won't have enough time to tell the story. Because again, as I say, they're gonna have to cut it down and chop and change it up a bit. And are people gonna get annoyed by this? Like, it sounds like it's a pretty hardcore fan base. Are people going to turn around and be like, oh, I don't like the way that they're doing this story different and that story different. I don't want to watch this show. It's not like the anime or it's not like the manga. I'm out.
Mhm.
Like, so it really, I suppose it just, for me anyway, again, I'm viewing it as a brand new person, like, so I don't care which way I don't know which way it goes, so it's all unknown to me.
But
So I'm just following the story, and that's fine, But
Mhm.
it's if they start pissing off the fan base, that could go really against them.
Right.
to be honest, if how they did the first season, for me as a One Piece fan, and I'm quite new to One Piece, but I was so gobbled up in the whole story and the whole world because I find so many familiarities with the characters, even with Luffy. Because I practically my character as a person, it's speaking to that character in such a way. So I obviously I like Zoro more and so on. But for me, they nailed the first season. And my opinion is, if you as a new viewer to the One Piece, what do you think? Did you do you get a bit? Does the world talk to you? Does the characters give you some feelings that, okay, this is something that I can relate, it's relatable, or it's something that can get me a bit more hooked to the whole idea of the pirating world? Because once that you're gonna understand what's the world government and why the Marines are the way they are, I think you're gonna find a lot of similarities to our world in real life.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But it's
I'm definitely
still,
intrigued. I am intrigued. I like Zorro. He's probably my favorite character out of it, just because, again, you can tell that the actor who's playing him is a fucking badass in real life. He is a martial artist, like he's a true martial artist in real life, and you can just tell, there's like he's doing a lot of that stuff himself. So that for me really shines. That resonates with me. Like I love that sort of stuff. Um, Again, I don't really mind Luffy. I think he's a little over the top sometimes, but again, I'm sure I'll warm to him as the show goes on. I'm happy to stick with it. I'm curious. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. So I'll definitely be finishing season 1. I presume it's going to end well, and then I'll be sitting here waiting for season 2. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I'm going to be. I don't know if it's going to hit me so hard that I'm going to be like, let's start this fucking anime. I don't think I'm going to get there. But
Josh and Lisa,
who knows?
they're in. They
Yeah,
got hooked, and you're gonna get hooked when you're gonna see what's gonna happen to Zoro in episode 5. But that's gonna be
yeah,
on you when you're gonna see it,
yeah. Well, as long as he doesn't die, then I'm
because
cool.
no, it's something very nice because he's such. So once that you're gonna get the backstory of Zoro,
Yeah.
then you're gonna get so attached to the character Finto that I think you're gonna buy some action figures with Zoro. Because practically the sword that he has, the sword that he has in his mouth is practically he got it from a dear friend of his, and he only had one friend. And practically his sensei said, "Okay, you can keep it, but you need to finish the promise that you made to that so-called
Right.
person."
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
why he's a free sword style kind of guy, and he has more strength in his mouth than in his hands. So you can imagine he's going to be quite a deadly opponent to a normal swordsman.
Of course. Yeah. With some dude coming at you with a sword in his mouth, like that's gonna throw you off your game, I think.
Oh yeah.
I like how you can saw like he's so like one of the fight scenes you see like because again when I saw the sword first go in the mouth I was like, oh god, this is crazy. But then you see him doing all these like spins and shit, and then like he's like precise, like stopping it just before it cuts the dude's neck and all. I was like, holy shit! I was like, this is crazy. So yeah, like I'm excited, bro. It's different. It's something new. Something new.
Exactly.
It's
It's gonna
not
be great.
copy and paste shit like we've seen so much in Hollywood.
Right.
Exactly. And this is for me very promising because if you, as a nerdy guy, because you watch a lot of content, you like movies, you like this and that and the other. So if One Piece live action talks to you only from 3 episodes, then I can imagine that a lot of people are going to get very hooked very fast. So for me, that's good because that means that the thing that I like is going to go forward for the future. So that's very promising.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a chain of like clothing shops over here, and I think they're part of a different chain in the UK, so they like sell like kind of cheap clothes and stuff. But I was walking through, we go get like clothes for the kids there sometimes, like, you know, just cheap stuff that they can kind of wreck. But I was walking through the place there like a couple of weeks ago, and I saw loads of One Piece merch, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, they got One Piece shit in here. So obviously, yeah, it's a huge brand, and I think Netflix it'd be impressive if Netflix fucked it up. Especially,
Oh, yeah.
you know, especially in season 1. I could potentially see people falling off in the later seasons if it's not as good. But I think that, yeah, like I think it's an easy win right now.
Right.
Liam, of course. Of course, yeah.
I'm always bringing stuff in.
Yeah.
Yo, I got so many accents that you have no idea.
Yeah, so for anyone who might be listening to this on Spotify or something, Liam's just accusing Andre of having a fake accent. How dare you, sir?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you want, I can talk to you in my mother language, and it's gonna sound like bananas.
No, I think we're good.
No, I think we're English only, please.
Yeah.
Guys,
We
is there anything
appreciate
else
that.
you want to bring up? We're getting close to the 2-hour mark.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'd love to stick around, but I do have some alerts that I need to work on for work.
Yeah, no, I do. It's almost 1 a.m. for me, and I think, Andre, if I'm not mistaken, it's nearly 2 a.m. for you. So, yeah, he's a grinder. I appreciate you being here, dude. It was a very fun
thank
chat.
you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's been fun.
We'll definitely have you on again. I'm very curious to see where One Piece goes, and again with Ahsoka with episode 4 next week. So, look, yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll have another chat. It'll be fun. And if you're listening to us on any of the apps, hit the follow button, leave a review. If you're watching us here on a replay, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think of Ahsoka. Let us know what you think of One Piece. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Take it easy. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Much love, everyone. Have an amazing day, night, whatever.